What's good, everybody? It's your boy Dad Poppy, aka Los Courtside, back with another video. Today's video is about young Don the Sauce God and Sneako having a debate about Asian hate in the black community. I first came across young Don the Sauce God a little while ago. He came up in my recommended. He's a cool dude, very respectful. I messed with some of his content. Sneako, I'm known for his video in which he was with some feminist asking about dating advice or whatnot. Uh, but basically, they had this discourse about the preconceived notion that there's Asian hate within the black community and how black people target Asian people in crimes. Uh, and it got into a heated debate, but it took a very unfortunate and sad turn when Sneako started making some very racist comments in it. Uh, and it's sad because I don't think he truly understands how racist he came across in this debate that he was having. For instance, in the video, he was talking about how he views black people as more violent than other races, which we all know is 100% bullshit. And that's a racist rhetoric that has been propagated through the media to dehumanize black men. And not only that, he was trying to anecdotally justify his bias against the idea that black people are perpetrating crimes against Asian people. Now, young Don the Sauce God, he went and he had this conversation with him, and he was bringing up statistics about hate crimes committed against Asian people and different. Basically, he was coming with the facts, and Sneako was coming with his feelings. And it was very unfortunate because of the fact that young Don the Sauce God was trying to demonstrate. He said, "Hey, this is bias. This is prejudice. There's no facts that are backing up that black people are explicitly targeting Asian people in crimes and are against Asian people and have this sentiment against Asian people." And Sneako just he couldn't seem to get past his own experiences and viral videos he's seen of black people committing crimes against Asian people. Now, nobody here is saying that black people have not committed crimes against Asian people, but what I am saying is we need to understand the context of where and why these crimes are happening. Are these crimes happening just because they're an Asian person, or are these crimes happening because the criminals looking for an opportunity and they see somebody that they think is an easy target, and so they want to victimize them? And that's something that we all need to understand, is it doesn't matter the color of your skin. If you look like a lick, people are going to treat you like a lick. It doesn't matter if you're white, black, Hispanic, Asian. If you look like a weakling, people are going to try you every time. It doesn't matter what happens. When I was in school, when I was in middle school, I got picked on by the white kids. And guess what? It wasn't anything about me being black. They didn't care. They didn't even think that I was black at the time because I'm mixed. But they did it because I was a scrawny, small, timid, light skinned black man. Well, not because of that, but I was tiny and I was timid, and they thought that they could get away with it. There was another black kid in our class, and he was bigger and he was stronger. He was more assertive and more confident. And guess what? Nobody ever tried him. Nobody ever disrespected him. And you want to know why? It's because of how he carried himself. It wasn't because he was black. They weren't going to try him because he didn't look like somebody to be tried. When I was coming up, when I was small, I had a small frame and I didn't have any muscles, I looked like somebody you could try, because what's the worst that could happen? If I fight back, you can take me. And that's how they view victims. Now, if that's the case with, because in the discussion, Sneako was talking about how there's this preconceived notion about Asian people being passive and being submissive and being weak, but that's not the black community's fault. That is the media's fault for how they've portrayed Asian people in the media, in TV shows, and in different settings and whatnot. And let's be fair, Sneako. Asians have been portrayed as the nerds, and for the last 40 years in cinema and entertainment, and just now they are starting to turn and rebrand Asian representation in the media. That's why movies like Black Panther was so big, because black people for the longest time in the media were seen as criminals. We were seen as violent and animalistic. And that's why you have these notions. That's why you have these biases and you think black people are more violent. Just because black gangs commit violence does not mean black people are more violent. There is Spanish organized crime, Asian organized crime. They have the Yakuza. They have the triads in China. There's Asian organized crime, white organized crime. There's organized crime of all ethnicities. And yet, for some reason, he is harping on black gangs being an example of black people being more violent. Do you know what MS-13 does? Do you know what the Yakuza does? Do you know how they get down? Do you know what the KKK and how they got down back in the day? All ethnicities, all races have the capacity for crazy, crazy violence. And yet, because of how he's grown up and because of what he's experienced and his e- uh, anecdotal stories that he's had about Asian people being targeted, he has an entire vision of black people just being inherently more physical, inherently more violent, inherently more animalistic, and that's wrong, man. That's a terrible, terrible, terrible way to think about things, and that's racist. And this the craziest thing is that Sneako has said he's not racist in this video, in this debate. Which you need to go check it out. I promise you, it's not a waste of your time. I'm just giving you spark notes because I'm not trying to waste your time. I know not as many people have an hour and some change to watch a video, but I do. But I'm telling you, man, you are being racist. These thoughts that you have, these opinions that you have, are racist against black people. And it might not seem like it, and it might seem justified from what you've anecdotally experienced or from what somebody else has told you from word of mouth or from looking at these viral videos. But you got to look at the numbers and you got to look at the big picture. You're going off of a microcosm of your experience versus the macro of this entire country and in this entire world and what is actually happening on a consistent basis. I I'm glad that they had this video because there's a lot of Asian people that like Sneaker that I feel like they hold his sentiment and that they feel that black people do target them and they feel that black people are racist against them. But here's the thing, Sneako, and he acknowledged it in the video, was that Asian people have been famously known to be racist against black people. Famously known. Matter of fact, almost I think all races are racist against black people. They all see us as the lesser. It is what it is in societies. If you have darker skin, you're seen as lesser majority of the time, and it's unfortunate, but we have to acknowledge these prejudices. We have to acknowledge these biases. We have to move forward and educate and enlighten people and bring them from their ignorant ways and mindset. It's so unfortunate that this guy, he seems like a well-read, respectable young man, and I hope that he turns around from this, and I hope that he really takes the time to dig deep and reflect on his thoughts and comes away from this line of thinking right now, because it's so harmful and it's so hurtful against so many black people that we're looked at as inherently violent. We're looked at as inherently criminals. We're not even inherently criminals, but they assume we're the criminals. They assume we're the aggressor. And it's not the case. Just like how Asian people are not inherently weak. You guys are not inherently submissive. You guys aren't inherently passive. These are stereotypes. And what's crazy, what's baffling is that he's using a stereotype against black people while also propagating a stereotype. He's trying to fight a stereotype that people have against Asians while also perpetuating a stereotype that people have against black people. And it's just insane how he can't see the cognitive dissonance of his argument. It's like, yeah, hey, yeah, people try Asian people because they view us as weak, and it's black people because they're more violent and they're more aggressive. And that's just wrong. It's wrong. I wish I could have a different way of saying it, but it's wrong, man. And it's unfortunate. But I'm glad that they had this conversation because I feel like this dialogue needs to happen more. We need to be able to come to each other with our prejudices and our biases, and we should be able to deconstruct them together with facts. We should be able to say, hey, that might be your experience, but that's not the experience. And yes, Black people have committed crimes against Asian people. Nobody is denying that. But you have to understand the context of which these crimes are happening. Are these crimes happening because black people hate Asian people? Or are these crimes happening because Asian people live in close proximity to poor neighborhoods where crime happens, and they are also uh, conducting themselves in a way that people feel like they can victimize them? Because that's how it is at the end of the day. Black people get attacked in the hood. Spanish people get attacked in the hood. White people get attacked in the hood on a regular basis. And it's not on race. It's on our societal issues with poverty, mental illness, etc., etc. There's so many things that are contributing and are factors to this. Uh, and it's very unfortunate, and I'm very disappointed that he holds these opinions, but I'm glad that we can see it out in the front, because a lot of Asian people do hold these sentiments. I'm not saying all, but I'm saying a lot of Asian people hold these sentiments about black people. And about this, that's why this Asian hate movement is even as big as it is, because a lot of Asian people feel the same way that he does. And it's crazy because white people have victimized so many races. You're Filipino. Your last name is probably a Hispanic last name. Do you want to know why your last name is a Hispanic last name? It's because the Spaniards came and they colonized and I don't want to say the word, but they raped your people. Not the blacks, not the Africans, not the Senegalese, not the Nigerians. The Spaniards, the white man did it. And yet somehow you think the blacks are the most violent. Think about how fucked up your mind has to be, that the last name that you have is probably a Spanish last name when you're Filipino, your language is Tagalog or Tagalog. And you're saying that the blacks are the ones that perpetrated against you. The blacks are the most violent. The blacks hate you, not the white man that colonized you, that colonized us, that enslaved us. It's us. It's the black people. It doesn't make any sense. But shout out to Young Don the Sauce God. He held it down in this debate. I could tell from his body language multiple times that he wanted to snap, that he just realized that he wasn't going to be able to get through to Sneako no matter how many facts he was given. But shout out to you for being poised and keeping your composure and having this dialogue, because I feel like it's important, and I hope that more discussions occur in the future so that we can all come together and put all this bullshit to the side. Once we really get down to the nitty gritty and we can start looking at each other as not animalistic, not violent, not passive, not weak, but just as human beings and as individuals, we can move as a society. We can better cohabitate and collaborate with each other. But as long as sentiments like Sneako's showed in this video continue, it's going to be a long, hard journey for us to move forward. And with that being said, I am Dad Poppy, and I am signing out.